Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye, bye. Let's just not stop there. Let's keep it going. Welcome back to Gunners Collective TV. If you haven't hit that button already, hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of mine and Chucky's content that we're kicking. You know what I mean? Chucky's always behind me. He got my back, homie. And he got my chains too. So I ain't gonna say shit, man. You don't fuck with Chucky. You got a piece. He got a pedazo on him. And no lefty gunplay. It's not between his ass cheeks. And it's not all the way in his rectum, Wes Watson. But it is what it is. Thank you guys for all the support. Now, I wanted to talk about a serious thing, something that happened in the city of San Jose, north and south incident. You know, you don't really see too many north and south incidences, or you don't hear about them, you know, but when you hear some bullshit and some stupidity, you gotta put something out there. Now, you know, for those that don't know, there was a young kid that was tragically stabbed, you know, on Santana Row, which is an uppity area, you know, with nice shops, nice restaurants in the San Jose area, you know, and a lot of people, you know, you talk about Santana Road, you might see some incidences that happen, but there's never really too much going on there because it's real bougie. You know, there's a lot of people, they go out to fine dine, they go out to the museums, the art museums, things like that. You know, that's what's going on in Santana Road. But there was a youngster that was with his girlfriend and he was just having a bite to eat. And he was approached by 5 individuals. And these guys have all been arrested because of this incident. And what turned into a simple gangbanging tragedy, you know, went crazy. So these youngsters, they were all young, except for one that was 18 years old, which I'll show his picture. The youngsters, we can't show their identification, and we shouldn't. They approached this victim allegedly. Now, this is an ongoing case, so it's all allegedly, you know, when it comes to the victimizers, right? But they pulled up, and it seems to be the story out there is that they were hunting, you know, for Northerners. These guys were all affiliated with Southsiders, allegedly. And they seen this youngster, and I don't know if he was wearing the color red. I do got exclusive photos of his clothing, his bloody clothing on the scene, as well as when the incident went down and the press conference. And we'll get into that in a minute. But, you know, they jammed him up. They hit him up. He told them he wasn't gang related. They weren't hearing that, probably because of the color he was wearing, or, you know, just because, you know, at that point when you're out there, and I've been involved in things like this, when you're out there actively looking for an opposition or an op or whatever, you're young-minded. You're not crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Anyone who's wearing the color of the opposition, or anyone you think, you know, it's automatically, hey, we're just going to make him a victim. So this guy was jammed up. He told him no. They started to assault him allegedly. He was able to get away from the scene, run. And then a 13-year-old, it's crazy, allegedly pulled out a piece and stabbed him, right? This guy did not live. Now, I want to show you guys the footage that I have, and then I'm going to get into what I think is the main story behind this, rather than just this unfortunate incident. So let's get to it.
The young victim was on a date with his girlfriend when he was confronted by a group of 5 suspected gang members. These individuals, dressed in gang colors, were believed to be actively seeking a confrontation. The group approached the victim, questioned him about his gang involvement, and proceeded to assault him. The victim managed to escape and ran away from the group. However, one of the suspects, a 13-year-old male, pursued him, confronted him again, this time armed with a knife. The 13-year-old suspect brutally stabbed the victim multiple times, resulting in his death. The victim's girlfriend, witnesses, and responding officers all attempted to provide the victim with first aid before he was transported to Valley Medical Center, where he unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. Before officers arrived, all suspects had fled on foot. Through extensive investigation, which included reviewing surveillance footage, gang intelligence, and body-worn camera evidence, detectives identified all 5 suspects and obtained warrants for their arrest. Each of the suspects is believed to be affiliated with a local San Jose street gang. The investigation also revealed that the victim had no gang affiliation whatsoever and was tragically just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Now, as you can see, it is a tragedy, you know. But what I think is even more tragic than this is the way I've been seeing it in places like San Jose, Los Angeles, Fresno, Merced, Modesto, Stockton, Oakland, the list goes on and on, right? San Bernardino, because there's definitely a big murder rate right there, is that a lot of youngsters are being utilized or being gifted not a lot of time, right? And so they're going crazy out there. They're going buck wild. You know, in this situation, of course, you know, San Jose gets slept on. It's very gang affiliated. There's a lot of audios, you know, north and south, more north than south. It's always been a northern stronghold, but at the same time, there are a lot of Southerners that have been there since the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, you know, when the Norteños and the Southsiders started to hit those areas. It even predates. There's gangs that were just there. They were barrios that actually split. Some became north, some became south, some became north, some became south, you know, and just as a whole. Now, with this situation, man, as you can see, if you looked close on the clothing that was left behind, you know, this kid was wearing red. And albeit in San Jose, man, there's a lot of people wearing red. It's the local color. It's what everyone wears. You know, you kind of blend in. If you're wearing blue or wearing any other color, you're going to kind of get looked at some type of way, right? So whether he was affiliated with the gang or not, or he was just saying that he wasn't, you know, the officers are saying that he was not. You know, and it's an unfortunate tragedy when it's a misidentification, but it's an unfortunate tragedy when any young kid, man, gets his life took for whatever reason, right? Now, what I'm tripping on is how these youngsters are getting crazier and crazier nowadays, this new generation, and it's because of the laws. You know, there's not a lot of enforcement. I remember back in my days, if you did a killing, a murder, right? You were given juvenile life, or you were given life as an adult if you were tried as an adult, and you were getting every bit of that. See, nowadays what they're doing is these kids are not getting as much time. You know, they're getting a few years. And so these older gang members, vatos that are from the barrio, know that. And it's nothing new, but I'm saying they know that, and so they can utilize that. Hey, if the little homies are out there putting in that work, not only are you earning respect in your neighborhood and stripes, and you're getting, you know, people are going to fear you and all that. This is what it's indoctrinated into. This is the propaganda that's fed to you, right? Oh, you're going to be that one in the hood, homie. You're eradicating the enemies. You're a solid homie. You get to thinking that and you run with that. And one murder turns into two, it turns into three, and then you're looking at some time. But when you just get caught up in something like this, not a lot of these guys, these juveniles are going to get a lot of time. Now, the 18-year-old, he's going to get stretched. He's going to be charged as an adult. And even the youngsters might be charged as an adult. But at the end of the day, they're not getting a lot of time. And see, these older gang members know this. So it's become it's happening a lot more where they're being used. You know, why would this OG that has a criminal record go out there and do a pegada or do a murder when he has this little young homie that has no record, has a clean record, is a first-time offender? You know, have the little homie do it. He ain't going to get much time anyways. Now, this ain't something new. This has been happening since the beginning of time, and I used to get at my homeboys for it. I hated it. You know, I remember we'd have little juntas or kickbacks, and these little youngsters would come, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, right? And I say kids because that's what they were. And the homies, oh, this is the little homie from the barrio, this is the homeboy's little brother, or this, and that. And I know you see the movies and you see the barrios and like, hey, you grew up in the barrio, you're automatically, no, it's not, it doesn't work that way. You know, I used to keep them at a distance. I used to be like, hey, they got to go, bro. We're talking some serious business here. Why would you want these youngsters around? To me, it's just like a grown man fucking with a little young girl. To me, this is the way I look at it. You know, you're spinning her mind. You're using her for whatever you want, right? Marvelous, you're doing that shit, right? So it's the same thing to me when dudes are doing that in the gang realm. Yeah, so what those kids want, they don't know better. You're supposed to be an adult in the situation. You're supposed to let them know what it is, man. Hey, if they're going to be from the barrio, they're going to be from the barrio. You can't stop that, but you got to tell them to go to school. You got to tell them, get out the way, homie. You got to tell them, become a productive member of society, so that way you can utilize that in the future to get more people up out the barrio or more people into different situations, right? But that's not what happens. See, a lot of these gang members have a different mentality. You know, it's a user mentality. It's a manipulative mentality. Hey, we're going to use the little homeboys to put in work so that way our barrio stands out. We're the hardest in San Jose or in Merced or in Modesto or wherever, right? You're not putting in that work, though. You ain't doing what you say. You're not leading by example. You're just telling these youngsters, spinning them up. If you're going to be hard, you got to put in work. You got to earn your stripes. You got to bring me a body. And a lot of these kids are so dumb because their mentality is not there yet. They're not adults. They don't know how to think for themselves. So a lot of them do get caught up in these situations, and it's tragic. Now, unfortunately, in this situation, man, this guy, whether he was affiliated with gangs or not, that was killed, didn't deserve that. But this is what you sign up for. You know, in cities like San Jose, Oakland, Merced, Fresno, LA, you know, if you're out there rocking gang colors, and albeit, man, it just might be your favorite color or whatever, you have to watch what you wear. You have to watch how you speak or how you dress or look. Now, as you can tell by the picture on the thumbnail, the victim just looked like a regular kid. He got the Punches Pilot puff, and, you know, he's got that style nowadays. But we don't know what led up to the situation. We don't know why these upstate Southsiders, which are being alleged to be, you know, they're upstate Southsiders, from what the cops are saying. You know, I'm trying to keep it even here. We don't know what they were thinking that night. If they had lost a homeboy, if there was a shooting that happened to precede this, you know, or if they were just going out there looking for a norteño to hit. You know, it happens both ways. It's not like all the upstaters are hunting all the time, running up on northerners and just fucking doing what they do. But I've been noticing a lot of disrespect, especially on social media, man. Social media is a crazy and a dangerous tool. It's used to clown, disrespect Vario. See, back in the days, it was kind of like, just fuck your Vario. Okay, when I see you, I see you. And that's the way it worked out. Nowadays, with social media, Vatos will go, they'll creep to barrios when no one's there. They'll piss on their fucking memorials. They'll piss on their park sign. I've seen it. One time I seen the Upstate Southsiders from Sanho. They went to Brigadoon Park. I think it was Capitol Park. They went and pissed on the sign to disrespect the Northerners. Like, hey, we're in your barrio, pissing on your guys' shit. Then I seen Northerners walking with guns allegedly through neighborhoods, man, kicking over memorials. It's just back and forth. It's just total disrespect. You know, real gangsters don't move like that, but I guess gangbangers do. You know, so this situation to happen on Santana Row is a pretty big thing. Not only because there's a lot of young lives that are lost and involved in it, but I mean, no one was expecting that. If you've seen close on, I don't know if you can see it because I kind of blew it up, the picture of the clothing. There was literally people still sitting there eating at the outdoor restaurant. It was an outdoor restaurant where they jammed them up. Now, I've been involved in plenty of situations. I'm gonna tell you guys a quick little story that transpired right in front of me. It was crazy, right? So there was a place in Merced called Beto's Taco Shop. Back in the 90s, late 90s, man, they were known for the California burrito. Anyone from Merced would tell you the bombest California burrito in California, right? So all the homies used to pull up. There was our spot after drinking, after kicking, after the club or whatever. Everyone would pull up and it get to popping in the parking lot. But anyone could pull up. Well, these dudes from A-Town pulled up. A-Town is a Southsider neighborhood, a Southsider city, predominantly Southerners. There's Northerners there now, but not as many as there ever was, right? And these vatos pulled up, and I remember we were eating, but they were youngsters, 17, 18. You could just tell, like, they didn't pose a big threat. They were just pulling up to eat. Pretty fucking dangerous situation for them to do that, but they had balls, right? You got to give them the respect for that. So they pulled up in their little cutlass, and I remember me and the older homies, and when I say older homies, I was in my 20s. They were like in their 30s, 40s. We're just eating some California burritos out there by the car, just chilling, drinking beers. Cops used to see us, and sometimes they'll jam you up, sometimes they won't. Like, they're harmless. They're not fucking doing nothing. These youngsters pulled up and they were ordering their food or whatever. We seen them and the homie was like, hey, those fools are from A-Town, huh? Those are Southsiders. You can see they're wearing bands, LA Dodgers, blue, whatever. You know, typical Southsider attire. And I don't know if it was we just weren't caring or we were just too hungry or faded, but we were like, they're youngster, man. We're going to leave them alone, right? We give them a pass. Well, these youngsters, man, they sat there by the car and they were like antagonizing. So the homie was like, man, I'm going to go up and jam these dudes up. And he did. He went and jammed them up, man. They got off on the homie. By the time we could run over there, they jumped in their car and left the homie leaking. Now, it was a situation where we tried to give them a pass because they were young. These youngsters don't give a fuck nowadays. Or back then even, you know, they were like, boom, boom, boom. We see a norm, we're getting off. You could say they handled their business. Maybe we were lacking. We just weren't tripping. Now, of course, people doubled back and all that. We're not going to get into all that. But what I'm saying is the situation is like this, right? You know, these young kids have a different type of mentality. They're trying to prove to the older homeboys what they're about and who they are. And unfortunately, you know, when you're doing that, you know, you're not thinking about your own life, about your parents, about your family. And these older homies don't give a shit. They really don't, man. They feel like maybe they put in work in the past. Now it's just your turn and your time. You know, but nowadays what I'm noticing is these youngsters don't even, it's not even about that. It's more about clout. It's about social media. It's about everyone seeing what they're doing. They're not even trying to hide it. They're showing their faces. They're doing it in broad daylight, in the open with a bunch of witnesses. At least back in the day, we in the cuts like this. They get masked up. We're in the cut looking like Blue Devil. Like, no hole, just for the, you know, he had his for the chorra. But we were like this. And this is how the conversation would go, just like this.
Hey, homie, look at that fucking Southsider right there, homie. We're gonna get him. You ready to get him? You ready to get him? Hike!
That's exactly how it would go down. And then whatever happened, happened. We didn't want no one to know our business, though. These kids nowadays are different. They want everyone to know their business. And unfortunately, this is something that happens all the time. You know, it's a big case, and not to make fun of it, but that kid, you know, was in the wrong place at the wrong time, unfortunately. Now his family has to deal with the trials. These guys that all got locked up, they got to deal with the trials and what they're looking at. But there's a big trend going on of these youngsters doing this shit. And it's not like it just happened. It's a trend now. It's been going on. But it's getting worse and worse because they're getting slapped on the wrist. They're not getting a lot of time. You know, and it's not that I want to see them do all day. I hate it. I hate it, man. This is why I'm against gangbanging, you know, as a whole. It's not because I got done wrong or I'm disgruntled or I didn't make the cut or I wasn't cut from that cloth. None of that. Because when I was doing it. Right? And there's nothing to it, man. I got nothing to show for it but scars and bullet holes in my body. I got, you know, there was never, and a whole bunch of time that I wasted that could have been around my children, my family, you know, so there was no positives, just a whole bunch of negatives. So when I see people get caught up, I think two things. One thing I think is like, damn, they're still fucking tripping north and south, still, even after enter hostilities in prison. They're all going to kick it with Northerners and Southerners are going to kick it with, you know, all that. And then the second thing is like, fuck, they're going to go do a whole bunch of time now, today, starting today. Damn, I couldn't even imagine it, right? So it's just an unfortunate situation. I'm going to play the clip one more time and show you guys exactly what went down. Again, these guys were alleged to be Upstate Southsiders from a barrio in San Jose, and they thought this dude was a Northerner, allegedly. And this is how it worked out. So we're going to get into the clip one more time for the gente.
The young victim was on a date with his girlfriend when he was confronted by a group of 5 suspected gang members. These individuals, dressed in gang colors, were believed to be actively seeking a confrontation. The group approached the victim, questioned him about his gang involvement, and proceeded to assault him. The victim managed to escape and ran away from the group. However, one of the suspects, a 13-year-old male, pursued him, confronted him again, this time armed with a knife. The 13-year-old suspect brutally stabbed the victim multiple times, resulting in his death. The victim's girlfriend, witnesses, and responding officers all attempted to provide the victim with first aid before he was transported to Valley Medical Center, where he unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. Before officers arrived, all suspects had fled on foot. Through extensive investigation, which included reviewing surveillance footage, gang intelligence, and body-worn camera evidence, detectives identified all 5 suspects and obtained warrants for their arrest. Each of the suspects is believed to be affiliated with a local San Jose street gang. The investigation also revealed that the victim had no gang affiliation whatsoever and was tragically just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Very unfortunate situation right there, you know, and it happens in every city in America, all around the world. You know, this gangbanging, this mentality to hate someone that looks just like you, that's just like you, that woke up that morning just like you is crazy. I lived it, so I could speak on it, right? You know, my mentality when I used to wake up in the morning is if I see any opposition, I'm getting off where I was mad. I didn't know why I was mad. Didn't understand, you know, just was educated that way, was told, man, the Southerners are against us. They're against everything we believe in. They hate us, man. You got to get them before they get us. When meanwhile, the real Southerners, the ones in Southern California, not saying the Upstaters ain't real because they definitely are, right? But the Southerners didn't even give a fuck about us. They woke up that morning like, Mom, I need a tortilla with my frijoles. They didn't even care. A lot of them didn't even know what norteños were. To see this going on year after year after year, decade after decade, it's very tragic, man. Meanwhile, you got people being deported. You got people being drugged away from their kids. You got a lot of things going on in the Raza community, and still you're having stuff like this happen. It's very unfortunate. With that being said, man, speak to your children. Lace them up. Give them game. Talk about how the big homies, and when I say big homies, I mean their homies in their neighborhood, right, are going to make them do something that they don't want to do, but they're going to do it, you know? And a lot of these kids, you see in the mugshots are like this. The other kid, he's the victim on the bottom, but the other one's like, yeah, you know, your life could be over, or you can get a slap on the wrist, get out there and do some dumb shit again because he's from the hood, right? Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for my people and the betterment of them. That's what's up. The gun. Bang, bang.